guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I am Sean Butler. There's Bugsy Malone doing the things that she loves. I hope you're all happy and healthy doing the things that you love too. Please do me a favour, guys, smash the like button for me on the video like you always do. Hit the subscribe on the channel if you haven't already. Join the 18,000 and near 400 people that have gone before. Welcome back to them. Welcome to the new. If that is you, hit the notification bell and drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on today's topic. And we have some transfer news, views and clues for you again today, guys. I know it's only October, but if it's in the news and I feel like it's interesting, then I feel like we should talk about it, right? And this particular one today I think is quite interesting. Have you heard of a guy called Serhou Giroud? He is French Guinean, 27-year-old, plays for Stuttgart. He is a striker, an out-and-out number 9, and he's somewhat flown under the radar for most of his career until this season. If you haven't heard of him, then I understand why. If you have heard of him, then unless you are a very focused and interested broadly on football across Europe individual, then perhaps the reason why you've heard of him is because he's breaking records in Germany, in the Bundesliga. He has scored 10 goals in 6 games, and I believe that that is a record for the Bundesliga in terms of goals per games at this stage of the season over a goals per minute ratio. And look, I'd become aware of the guy as I'd heard and kept seeing his name all the time when I was doing my reviews or doing kind of my just general keeping an eye on what's going on. But I'll be honest, I hadn't heard of him before this season. And the reason why is because he wasn't really doing much before this season. He was at Stuttgart last season. Before then, I think he was at Stade Rennais in France. Before then, he was, I can't remember, somewhere else in France. And Cologne, I think he was at Cologne, could be wrong, maybe Cologne in Germany. But so he's moved around quite a lot, lots of loan deals, and his career has never really taken off. He's been someone that, you know, has scored, generally speaking, about a goal every 3 games over the previous sort of 6 or 7, 8 years of his career. Done a bit better in the French international youth setup, under 18, under 19s, under 20s, etc. He's done pretty well, scoring a decent ratio. But it's this season, or maybe last season, I think he scored 15 goals for Stuttgart last season. And they made his move permanent. He was on loan, they made his move permanent. And this season, he started the season unbelievably well. As I say, 10 goals in 6. And in the Cup, he scored a goal in 1 game so far in the German Cup. And so obviously people are starting to pay attention and thinking, is he the guy? The reason why Tottenham are linked with him, according to all reports out of Germany, is because obviously Tottenham are looking to replace Harry Kane. We've spoken yesterday, and I've spoken ad nauseum about my admiration for Santiago Jimenez, who is also breaking records, similar sorts of scoring ratios. He's doing it for Feyenoord in Holland. We've spoken about players like Gift Orban breaking records in Belgium, although Gift Orban, for what it's worth, this season hasn't really hit the ground running to the same level as he had before. Doesn't mean that we should write him off. But with all of these players, or especially with Gift Orban and Jimenez, obviously there's youth on their side and there's excitement about what these guys could grow into. That doesn't really exist, I don't think, for Serhou, because he is 27 years old, right? And so you have to wonder why it's taken this long to kickstart his career. Maybe he's a slow burn, maybe he is just going through a rich vein of form and gravity will eventually come back. What I can tell you is, Santiago Jimenez, for me, as much as I think he would be absolutely spectacular in a Tottenham shirt, and I do think that there is a potential future world-class player there, I think that there is such a dearth of, you know, real talent in the 9 role across world football right now, and so many big clubs are looking for their next future long-term number 9, that Tottenham, with the finances the way they are, not that our finances are bad, but, you know, I've spoken about this before, the fact that the FFP rules are going to come down over the next 2 years to a point where you can only spend 70% of your combined revenue, your total revenue, on the combination of fees for agents, transfer fees and salaries. And when Tottenham's wages to turnover ratio is already at about 50%, give or take, and then in the fan forum, when they kind of identified that over the last 6 years we spent a net £640 million, over £100 million a year, which is about 25% of our revenue in and of itself, then Tottenham are already at the current ratios of what we're naturally spending every year, around about the 70% limit of what is coming in a year or two's time. And when Daniel Levy and Joe Lewis say that they want it to be sustainable, reading between the lines, that tells you that there's not going to be many more, if ever, injections of capital. And so I don't really foresee us, unless we start to improve our ability to trade our sales better and make more money coming in through youth player sales or through selling players we bought for cheap and, you know, in the first team and selling them at a premium. Unless we do that stuff better, I don't really ever foresee Tottenham spending masses and masses amounts of money on any particular window. And so if Santiago Jimenez continues in the form that he is in, then there's two reasons why I think that we can write that one off. One is he's going to cost a lot of money that probably we're not going to spend, and two is teams like Real Madrid are going to come in for him, and when Real Madrid come calling, you answer the door and you probably say yes. So I think Tottenham have to shake hands with reality and possibly look in different directions. Now, Gift Orban is one option, we've spoken about that one, but this guy is another. And the interesting thing is that he actually has a 20 million euro release clause, which Daniel Levy might look at and think, that's not a lot of money for a player who's scoring nearly 2 goals a game this season. And so you can see the logic. If not Daniel Levy, then maybe someone will take the punt in January. Will they get there before Stuttgart renegotiate the contract with the player? Not sure. Is that a risk you want to take? Well, we need to figure out whether we like the player. And I've done my research, and here's what I'll say about the guy. He's 6'2", he's very languid, long legs. I wouldn't say he's blessed with pace, but he can cover ground pretty quickly because of his kind of physical kind of attributes. He's 2-footed. I think he scored about 40% of his goals this year with his left, 40% with his right. He's even scored one with his head, I think, as well. And he's a player that looks very comfortable with the ball in front of him when he's facing goal. He's comfortable to take shots from distance. I think 3 or 4 of the goals have been from the edge of the area or outside it. He can find the corner of the net, which is always impressive, and it kind of increases your likelihood of beating the goalkeeper. And my main positive about him, I think, is as an out-and-out number 9, is that his spatial awareness is very impressive. He knows where to be when someone's crossing the ball, where it's most likely to be, and he'll find a way to back away from the defender who's in front, or you know, get away from the defender who's behind him, and find the space to be able to finish his dinner. And he can finish his dinner. A couple of his goals have been absolutely sensational. So I do like him as a finisher. I think he's impressive, and some of his shots are like ferocious as well. Like he doesn't mind. He's almost like sprinting whilst he's hitting to get that additional power, and it's an interesting watch. But what I would say is that I find it a little bit uncomfortable watching him. I feel like, and maybe this is just me, and I'd encourage you guys to let me know if you disagree. If you do know him, or if you haven't heard of him, then go and check him out and let me know what your thoughts are. But I feel like it's all a little bit by accident. It doesn't look to me like he knows what he's going to do before he's doing it. You know, some players, they just look so comfortable that they're playing chess when everyone else is playing checkers. Like, they've got a plan of what they want to do here, and they figure it out, and it looks so easy for them to get past players and find the space, find the corner, whatever. Some of those top players, they make it look easy. He kind of makes it look difficult. It looks like it's all a little bit awkward. And I don't know him well enough to know if that is just his style, or if it really is all a little bit by accident. You know, to me, it raises a question mark as to whether or not, when you see the way he plays, and then you bake in the fact that he's 27 and he's only now emerging, and that before now he hasn't really done too much, and he hasn't really been on the scene, it makes you kind of wonder, is this just a flash in the pan? Is he in a rich vein of form? Now, at £20 million, it might not be that big of a deal either way. If you know he can bang in 10 goals a year, and he's not going to be the future of Tottenham Hotspur, you hope that you've got one in Dane Scarlett or Alejo Veliz or something else, some bigger picture in mind, some bigger plan in mind, that you don't need someone to come in and be the guaranteed starter, the new Harry Kane, because I don't think he is that kind of player at all, then maybe at £20 million it's a decent stopgap that raises the level so that you can rotate with Sonny, and if Sonny does get injured, or which he gets injured, and of course we're going through a lot of injury problems right now up the top end of the pitch, then maybe having someone like him in at £17 million, like, it's not that big of a risk in the grand scheme of things, and it's a stopgap until you can find the right guy who's the next guy. And maybe at the moment, because of the situation with so many top talents not being around and so many top clubs looking for their next guy, maybe it's a really difficult environment to identify your next long-term Harry Kane. And if so, then you're going to have to go into the secondary market and take risk. Now, Gift Orban was available last year. As I say, he hasn't hit the ground running this year. Maybe that's a good thing in that it's suppressing his price tag a little bit. I mentioned this on a previous video I did. Maybe you want him to not score that many goals this year so that his price tag doesn't continue to rise to the ridiculous levels that it looked like it could have risen to. I think that Jimenez is going to be right now you might be able to get him for 50 or 60, but I reckon in a year's time he'll be a 75, 80 million pound player, because I think he really is that classy. And I just don't think that Tottenham probably will go there. As much as I'd love us to, and I'll keep pushing it, I shake hands with reality sometimes. So as far as this guy GUIRASSY goes, like, I'm just not convinced. I'm not convinced, and accordingly what I would say is you don't go in for someone in January that you're not convinced over, because you're going to pay more. And in this scenario, I know there's a release clause, but what I would do is wait and see if he does it for the rest of the season. Wait and see how his entire season pans out, and if he got 15 goals last year, and let's say he can get 25, 30 goals this season, then maybe you take a look in the summer, and you run the risk, in my opinion, that one of two other things could happen. Either Stuttgart could renegotiate the contract with him as a player and remove that clause, which is probably what they're trying to do, or somebody else who's willing to take that risk now comes in and pays the asking price. And for me personally, because I'm just not that convinced with his style and the fact that he hasn't done it too frequently for previous times in his career, then I personally would say let's not jump the gun here and commit to a 3 or 4 year plan on someone that, for me, hasn't really proven himself long enough for me to feel confident that it's a good move. I'll take the risk that someone else can get him, and if he turns out to be a superstar that's just a late bloomer, all right, got it wrong. I'd rather wait till the summer and see where we go. But let me know your thoughts, guys. Do you know the guy? Have you seen him? Do you watch him regularly? Do you watch Stuttgart regularly? And if so, am I missing a trick here? Is he really the guy that we should be getting, and is there unbelievable value at 20 million euros that you shouldn't be sniffing at? I'll take the argument if people think that we should go for it when money isn't that tight, and we probably do need 2 or 3 different players this January. You definitely need a centre back, and with all the injuries we've got to our wing forwards at the moment, we do need support in that regard. So, can Tottenham realistically afford 3 really good players? Probably not. We're going to need to liquidate some space in the 25-man squad. We're going to need to get rid of Hugo Lloris, get rid of Eric Dyer, maybe sell Pierre-Emile Højbjerg as well. And if you do that, you probably need a midfielder. So, there's going to be a lot of potential incomings, potentially in January. It's a very difficult month. But for me, I don't know, just something about the guy when I've seen him. I think he's scoring goals for sure, but it all looks a little bit like it's not deliberate. But let me know your thoughts, guys. I'll leave it there. I'll speak to you later on. Have a good day. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, bye-bye.